transfers because we have 16 days to go until the transfer window finally shuts in September, on the 1st of September. 7 p.m, by the way, it shuts on this occasion, not at 11 p.m. Yesterday, Eddie Howe, you'd have heard him probably in his press conference, saying that the prospect of Alexander Isak still being at Newcastle United come the end of the transfer window very much out of his hands. He's not in the squad today. That'll come as absolutely no surprise at all, Merce. Where do you see this story going next? For you, is it a question of when, not if, he leaves Newcastle? Yeah,
I'd be shocked if he didn't leave now. I think it's gone past that now. He's not playing in this game, and I think it'll be sorted out before the transfer deadline day. Problem is, Newcastle got to bring someone in. I just looked at their team.
Well, look at that front line today.
You've got Gordon up front, who's not a centre-forward, in my opinion, and you look at the bench and there's none on there. So it's who you're going to get. You know, tried to get Seco, who went to Man United. I understand that if they get him, and then they can go and get rid of Isak. But at the moment, it's not good. You know, the man's a hero. You know, win a trophy, phenomenal player. You know, he's losing that legacy very quickly by not playing. I'm not saying he's turned around and said he doesn't want to play until I hear him come out and say that himself in front of the camera and say I refuse to play, and then it's a different matter. But at the moment, he's pushing his move, and I think he gets it.
And in terms of, I mean, a massive amount of coverage, Clinton, on this throughout the summer, and it's the first thing we're talking about on this first weekend of the Premier League, but you can't avoid it at the moment. In terms of how he's handled it, and you see different quotes around what he's said, what he hasn't said. For you, from what you've seen from afar, how has Isak handled this?
Yeah, but what Mer said, until you know, he comes out and says it, you hear all sorts of things. If we hear what we've been reading about and seeing, then he's not handled it well enough, nowhere near well enough, in my opinion. But I don't know, until he comes out and says something. You know who I feel sorry for the most out of this side? It's Eddie Howe. No one else. I don't feel, and obviously the Newcastle fans, and he's obviously his teammates, but as I say, I don't know what's going to happen. I do think the move to Liverpool will eventually happen, but they need it to happen sooner rather than later. There's only a couple of weeks till the window finishes. Newcastle need at least 2 more strikers in there. They were already going for Vissa, but that was to complement Isak because they lost Callum Wilson. So, yeah, it's not a good situation at the moment. They would have loved to have him at Villa Park this afternoon, but yeah, it's not good. But I do think the deal will happen.
You know the biggest winner out of this, don't you? Wissa.
Because he gets his move. We'll come on to him, sure.
Well, no one said a word about him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And Isak's getting all the stick, and it's no different with Wizza.
Yeah, we'll talk about Wizza, because, of course, he left Brentford training camp as well, and Keith Andrews had plenty to say about that in recent days. For you, Sue, do you pick up on what Clinton said there about feeling sorry for Eddie Howe? Because you look at the club at the moment, I mean, boardroom level, he's been really hampered. Paul Mitchell, the sporting director, he's gone. Darren Eales serving his notice as well because of his ill health as well. It's very much been Eddie Howe on his own fighting the fires this summer so far, isn't it?
And I think that's probably one of the reasons why it has been such a difficult summer for them. I think when you've got no CEO and no sporting director, there was always going to be problems within that transfer window. So ideally, Eddie Howe would have wanted to have kept Isak and added another striker because Callum Wilson obviously went. And you think, I just look back to last season and the real feel-good factor around Newcastle winning that trophy. And you just thought if they can hang on to the top quality players, then they add to that. Where would Newcastle be this season? So to have that ongoing saga, and I think you look at the Newcastle team and what Eddie Howe's done, and there's a real sort of togetherness and unity within that squad. And you just hope that this hasn't hampered it. I'm sure he's working, so hard in the training pitch, saying to the guys, look, that's happening off the field. You can't control that. Just control what's happening and focus on Aston Villa. But, of course, it's bound to have some sort of effect. He's one of their best players. You look at Newcastle's record without him, it's bound to have an effect on them. And like Mer said, Gordon playing in that sort of false 9, if you like, Osula on the bench, that's their other option. They need to bring in strikers, and they'll be fully aware of that.
Tim, is there any way you can see Isak, come the end of this transfer window, still being a Newcastle player?
Yeah, it's possible. I don't see it. I'm with the guys. I think that it's inevitable that he will leave and his destination will be Liverpool Football Club. I think his head's been turned. I'm not sure Liverpool would take it so far down the line and make the boy burn the bridges what he's burnt. He's burnt all bridges now at Newcastle. I think even if he turns up, of course everyone wants to see him in the Newcastle shirt, even the neutrals, because we all believe that if he ends up going with Guehi, who I'm sure we're going to get onto, to Liverpool, then it's going to be very difficult for anyone else to be competitive towards Liverpool. But from Newcastle's point of view, it's very disappointing. I really can't believe that he has come out and said he'll never play for Newcastle again. I don't believe that. I don't believe
you'd want to see him actually saying it rather than just relying on reports.
But he needs to come out and say he didn't say it because he's not looking good.
Yeah.
You know, it's not looking good for him, and I think he needs to come out and tell the world. It suits every other party apart from him. So let's get it right. Eddie Howe is not in the dark here. You know, you're talking about he knows what's happening. Eddie will know if the boy's going to leave or if he's not. It's a case of when they can get Wissa over the line, then they need to let Isak go. I read a lot of articles about people saying someone needs to make a stand. Why don't Newcastle make a stand? Well, Newcastle will be saying, why don't Liverpool make a stand, or Arsenal or Chelsea? Because it happens all the time. Every transfer window, this happens. Some player looks like they're holding the club to ransom. Now, for me, if I'm Newcastle, they struggle. They're one of the richest owners in the world. They can't spend any money. So they need Isak to go out the door to give them some headroom so they can spend the money on trying to find a replacement. They're not going to find a like-for-like replacement of the quality of Alexander Isak, but what they're going to have to do is try and find other solutions around the pitch. So for the amount, I'm sure Liverpool need to stump up the money. If they've told the boy to burn the bridges, they need to pull up 150 million. I think that is the number what Newcastle are holding out for, I really do.
Let's start with the significant developments around the future of Marc Guehi. Crystal Palace have slashed their asking price for their captain to around about £40 million, with Liverpool in talks to sign the Palace captain and defender. Liverpool just keep going, don't they? Just keep spending here. With Guehi, when you look at their squad and you look at how they played in the Community Shield, is he exactly what they need to balance it out even more?
Say exactly what they need. I mean, yes, they do need reinforcements at the back. They need a centre-back for sure. And Guehi is a top player. I think you look at the price tag now, it's almost a bargain. Last January, Newcastle bid 70-odd million. So, yeah, to get him at 30, 40 million now is a great acquisition. Whether he chooses Liverpool, that's the big question.